Hi, I'm Upwards, and in this video I'm going to show you guys how to make a live looping performance with the Akai MPK249 in Logic Pro. I'm going to show you guys how to make a live looping performance just like I did in this video over here. I'll be showing you guys the behind the scenes, how I prepared for this performance, and everything that goes into making a live looping performance.
So to give some context, this video was completely live with a little bit of editing in post. This performance was played live with all the audio being recorded internally. It was all in one take, and what you saw was what I played. Now to start off, we do need to set up the Akai MPK249 to be ready for performing within Logic Pro. I've already made a video on this which you can watch before continuing. It's important to make sure this step is completed, otherwise everything we do next will not work. So let's jump into the project. So to quickly summarize how live looping works, what happens is that I've set 8 bars of arranged music, and what I do is I layer instruments on top of instruments until I create a full song. What it actually looks like in the beginning is this. It's empty. And I actually record one by one each layer of the song until I reach here. And that's basically how live looping works. As you can see in my live performance video, I was actually playing each part individually live and layering them on top of each other. And because I was recording, it basically recorded me layering each of these instruments on top of each other until we reached the final result, where I could, after that, play with some creativity using some of the cutoffs and playing around with the volume, and that's how I made my performance. Now first off, you need to have a song that you're going to be referencing off. So in this case, I actually went out and created a whole song, which I'll play for you guys right now. Cool, so after making the song that you want to use for your performance, it's really important to make sure you get this step done, so that what you're going to do now is basically break down everything into little pieces, so that this way you can actually perform it live. When it comes to creating a song for live performing, the most important thing that I would advise you to have is some kind of percussion, that a looping percussion instrument that will basically keep you in time, because one of the things that you don't want to have in your recording is the metronome, which can be actually really annoying. And without a metronome, it's really hard to stay in time. So what I've actually done here is I've gone out and grabbed this clock loop from Splice. It sounds like this. And basically this plays out throughout the whole track and while I'm performing, so that this way I will never go out of time. Now the second way to keep in time is actually just to set a quantize in your recording. So for example here, I've set this over here, quantize to every 8 note. So that way it will quantize everything that I play to an 8 note, and that way it won't sound really jumbled even if I make a mistake. Now having quantize doesn't save you from making mistakes. And one thing that I learned is that with live performance, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. It's actually really easy to muck up. And once you muck up, you have to restart again. This video that I made took maybe 10 tries before I finally got the perfect one take and where everything actually sounded in time. So just be aware that this is going to take a lot of effort. And one of the really annoying things with Logic Pro is that, well, not with Logic Pro, but with any live performance, is if you're a little bit too early, it won't actually record that bit that you played, especially when you go back to the beginning. If you're a bit out, it won't be recorded. So you need to make sure that you're really in time, especially for that first note. As I was saying before, we do need to make sure that our Akai MPK249 is mapped correctly, because what's going to happen here is that every time you finish recording, you're going to have to jump to your next instrument using the dotted control, transport control, and then you're going to have to play straight away. So what it looks like is, as soon as I finish playing this, so we're looping this, as soon as I finish the last bar of this note, I actually have to switch really quickly and start playing the next instrument, which is the synth over here. You have to be really careful that you play it on time, otherwise it's not going to be recorded. Let me just show you an example of what I mean by this. So let's say, and this out of time will not be playing in your loop. Next, what we need to talk about is having the right mappings for your Akai. So I already told you that we had to make sure that all of these transport controls were linked up and working. Now next, you might notice in my performance that I had a few things like EQs and muted and unmuted different instruments. Now what that looks like on this keyboard is we have this equalizer mapped to this knob right here. So this controls the cutoff, the high frequency cutoff of our synth here. So you can hear it over here. And what I have set here is an equalizer with a high frequency cutoff attached to every single instrument in this performance. So the next thing that I've also mapped is this button over here. This is a mute button. So what I had done was with some of these loops, for example, this one over here, this vocal chops. So this vocal chop, obviously I'm not going to play that live, and I didn't want to have it in the beginning of the song. So what I did is I actually muted this by mapping it to this button. So as I was going through the loop, so as I played this instrument, then I moved to this instrument, moved to this instrument. Once I reached the vocal chops, I actually just push this button over here to unmute it, and then that starts playing. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is pre-mixing. It's really important to actually have a bit of a pre-mix in your live performance so that things don't sound bad. Now what I mean by this is what really is really important is to have a sidechain. So for example, we have these drums over here, and what I've done is that I've actually done a bit of mixing, and if we look at my chain here, I've routed everything to bus 15, and if we take a look at bus 15, that has my Kickstart plugin. So this plugin basically cuts out all the instruments every quarter note to give some space for the kick drum, and that basically makes the mix a bit more clearer and avoids any muddiness and any clash with the kick and the bass and all the instruments playing at the same time. So it's really important to have some EQs, some compressors, some of these mixes done before you start performing. Otherwise, if you don't have any mix done, your audio and your performance is going to sound very muddled. One other tip that I do have for playing drums is I actually use this button called full level. Sometimes this helps with making sure the velocity of your drums are all equal. Full level basically means that any note that you play on the drums is going to be at maximum velocity. So I actually did set this full level button on during my performance so that so regardless of how hard or how soft I hit the pads, they're going to have the same velocity every single time. So that really does help a lot. Alright, so that basically wraps up my tutorial on how to live loop and my advice on how to create live performances. I hope this helped you guys. I know that a lot of you guys have actually been asking me to make this video, and I have decided to make it a year later. But hopefully this helps you all with how doing some live performances, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll try my best to respond to them. I'm Upwards. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.